All right, all right, all right. Hello, FedX. Hello, Sodasicle. Welcome to the Purist Retrospective. Purist, what else can I say? It unfiltered conversation. Hello, Moon Explorer. Hello, Sesmalin. Today is all about postmortem. That's the word. Thank you, MLK. We're looking over how the Purist contest went, answering any questions you have, as well as just going through the process behind the scenes, all that good stuff. So, yeah. I have the question doc pulled up and all of that. So, gonna wait for a few more people to join. Hello. We are doing a post-mortem reflection on the Purist Creator Contest. I'm glad you are happy about that, Moon Explorer. Your level was really cool. So, all right. So I suppose to kick things off about this discussion, Purist Contest, is it a success? I would love to hear from you what y'all think. Of my opinion, I think it was. A lot of things went very, very well in the process of hosting this. And it was a lot smoother not having judges that I had to get on the case of. Yeah, it wasn't as big as the first. That's a good thing. So let's start with that. I had the idea of the Purist Critter Contest during the first Critter Contest because I was thinking, okay, what happens after this? And the original idea was, okay, a short contest that I can host in January. That would be awesome. It'd take me just it'd take them probably 3 weeks to build and then maybe a week for me to judge. We'll get it knocked out and moved on to the next one. That was very wishful thinking. That's entirely not how it went. 3 weeks for building. Judging took me, close to 2 months. But it also didn't happen in January. First CC took longer to judge than I thought it would. And so I didn't actually get around to getting that second contest rolling until February and March. But released the second contest. The goal was to make a smaller contest. The goal was to have a smaller contest that wouldn't take me as long to grade, wouldn't require extra judges to grade, and that's what I did. Smaller contests in hosting time as well as judging time. And it started, I think, in March. Yeah, it was second week of March because it ended right before April. Link Prod, I'll get to that later. I'll talk about potential future contests later. But so yeah, I'm gonna switch off this to this. This is our fan viewing Purist Critter Contest results. If you haven't seen this, we'll show you all the results and stuff. But yeah, the goal of I had the idea for the Purist Contest during the first one. Then the goal was, okay, I want to really challenge them, but also make it a quick contest. Let's go with the pure 1.0 restrictions. 4K object limit. No free rotate. In-game music. Should be fun. Should be fine, right? And I think it was. People exceeded my expectations. I was fully expecting Classic 1.0. If you don't know what Classic 1.0 is, it's like what Stereo Madness is, what Back on Track is, what Jumper is. Great example, User Ghost, if you've played their levels, are all Classic 1.0. That was what I was expecting the average level to be. And y'all surprised me. That was not the average level. Y'all created some really, really good stuff. Y'all were very creative. y'all used your objects really well. I was also expecting there to be like 30, so many more 30-second entries than there were. Y'all exceeded my expectations. It was a lot closer of a contest than I ever thought possible. Part of that being a small contest, I had a very small grade scale. To those who don't know about the grade scale, it was, I'll switch over to this. Your grade scale consisted of gameplay out of 10, decoration out of 5, creativity out of 5, sync out of 5. Focus on gameplay because I thought there wasn't enough objects to do much else. And then score deductions if you got points off. So a total of 25 points. If you haven't looked at the list, look how many tied levels there are. Like, top 50 is 20 points or higher. There were so many ties that I just didn't expect would happen. I also didn't expect there to be this many entries. We had 174 qualifying entries in this con. 173 qualifying entries. I forgot about this one. I was expecting maybe 30. I always underestimate that number. First contest, I was like, if I don't get enough, I'll cancel it. But, but yeah, it's such a big success. And to those who don't know, immediately after I hosted this contest, my girlfriend and I went on vacation. And it was really interesting because I would check in the morning and the night, or on like when I was in the car riding, to see what new entries there were, and I was always blown away. There were some really, really well done entries that I got to like take a brief gander at. But I tried to make sure to not spoil myself, so I only played through like my friend submissions, people who are on my friends list. And that's something I wanted to be. So let's start talking about some stuff that I was aiming for in this contest. I was aiming for some like full disclosure and involvement. So from the get-go, I made very clear what my judging was, what I was going to be looking for. That's why I made that checklist of all the violations and what you could be costed points of. I also gave a lot of suggestions to finish a day before so you have time to fix your stuff. All that good things. I wanted people to feel like it was fair. Do we feel like it was fair with the rules and stuff? I'd love to hear what y'all have to say about that. So that was something. I really wanted to spark more involvement. Something that I wasn't happy about with the first contest was the lack of y'all playing other people's levels, right? Some of you were not being a team sport there. So in this contest, I started the weekly level bounty system. And the goal was we were going to get every level to 5 likes and a face rating. And we did it. Every single level in the contest has a face rating or 5 likes. And I think y'all need a congratulations for that. That really pleases me. That's something that I would love to see in a future contest as well, is just supporting each other's entries. It also gives you a good idea about what other entries are out there. So if you like wanted to make a level that's better than the rest, you kind of get a good feel. So very happy about y'all playing through all of that. Meeting those level bounties. That I was really, really happy with. Then the other thing I tried to do was I tried to do my first playthroughs as much as I could on stream. That way we all got to experience what that level looked like, and I could like share my honest first thoughts. So that those people could have times to maybe reflect on what I said and potentially make fixes if they wanted. I think that worked a lot better than just playing through them randomly last contest. So feel free to share your thoughts on anything I'm saying, by the way. I would love to answer chat as much as I can. So I'm glad a lot of people are thinking it's fair. That's my goal, is to make it a fair and fun experience for everybody. All right, so creation process went great. Let's talk about the grading and the judging from my end. So it's a little bit interesting. Grading took me a lot longer than I wanted it to. And reason being for that is I was helping my girlfriend out a lot. And between that and subbing as much as I could, that took a lot of time away from grading. I was doing a lot of subbing. In fact, shortly after the contest, and my first opportunity to grade was like the morning of when my girlfriend and I were going to her grandparents' place for Easter. Like that's the weekend before Easter is like my first time to really grade. And I only graded like 10 in the morning. Like it was my time schedule in April was a lot tighter than I wanted it to be. Yeah. But I tried to lock in, and my goal was to get all judging done by April. I believe I did accomplish that. I did get all the grading done by April, and it was really, really interesting because I could do about 10 levels in an hour if the levels were completely sight readable. Because another thing is I played every level at least like 4 or 5 times to really get an idea. Again, with the whole wanting to be fair. So I could do about 10 levels in an hour with 176 levels. That, if you calculate that, that's like 17 hours of just straight grading. And sometimes I didn't even get to that. Sometimes I could only do 5 an hour because those 5 were either really hard or had a lot of stuff to take in. So, yeah, that's it was a lot of time to get all that done. A lot more time than I was expecting. It basically turned into I'm subbing for this teacher. They have 40 minutes before a class starts. I would spend 20 of that getting ready for the class and then 20 of that grading. They have a plan period, and I'm teaching the same thing for every class. The whole plan period I would be grading. Like, I remember I was grading the Lost Map when I was teaching at a middle school band. The classes were kind of awful, but Lost Map was fantastic. I was very happy to see that against type of day I was having. But yeah, that's how the grading went. It was just strung out where I had time across multiple weeks. And here's probably my first gripe with how I handled this contest. With the judging spread out over such a long period of time, I do believe that my standards fluctuated a little bit. I tried my best to keep that from not happening. In fact, we could take a look. I believe User Ghost actually provides a great example of, yeah, right here. So these are User Ghost's 3 levels. And they all got about the same score. Now, something you should know about User Ghost levels is they are very classic 1.0. I see this about these 3 levels getting the same score as a win. Oh, geez. Okay. As a win inside keeping a very consistent grade scale. However, I do know that some of the levels I might have not given them the score they deserved. And I know I had some personal gripes about that after I finished the results. So I will get into those in a little bit here. Just finishing talking about the process. So yeah, got grading done in April. I then started working on the video when I could. My girlfriend moved a couple days ago. Most of May I was spent finishing her finals and helping her get stuff prepared. That kind of took away from video time. And plus, I didn't really want to make the video. Videos can be really hard to make. But I got it all out early May. Not early May. When was the video released? Let's take a look at when did I release that video. Just use this account. It's not my main account. When did I release that video? 10 days ago. It was actually more than that. I had about 4 days up on Premiere, so it was released pretty late May. Yeah. But once again, that's because making the video took a while. As well as writing the script. I wrote the script on one of my final subbing days, actually. Yeah, because they were just watching a video on their own. I was bored out of my mind. But so yeah, that video came out way later than I wanted it to. But it's just because specifically this semester has been really rough. Okay. So I hope the video looked great. I spent a lot of time on that video, a lot of time making the montage. I think it's important to have the montage because I do believe that the success of the contest is due to the people that enter the contest, APAC Field. So I always try to make a montage after my contests of all the qualifying entries. I think that helps people feel like they were involved. Their entry wasn't forgotten. All that stuff. That being said, I forgot. Thank you, NLK, for recording footage for the montage. If you don't know, I need a clip from every level, and NLK was the one who recorded those clips for me. I then took them all and put them all together to the song "Stay Inside Me." So do thank NLK for getting me those clips, because otherwise it would have taken me a whole lot longer to get all that myself. But yeah, let's dive into. I think that's everything I need to say about like the overall timeline. Let's dive into some of the more specific stuff I want to talk about. The positives and the negatives. Positives, community involvement. So much better this contest than last contest. I really felt like it also strengthened our community. This is especially important because we didn't get any level rates. Like last time, there were level rates that brought in more people, that brought in more support. This time, we didn't have that. And in fact, I'd actually like to talk about that for my first negative. There were no rates from this contest. Remember last contest, we have 17 of them rated? The reason, I've made it very clear, we've got lots of sense. Plenty of people love the levels. Like, it's not the fault of the level at all. It's the fact that RobTop filters out in-game music when he rates. Almost every single time he rates, there's a filter that turns off in-game music. Is it confirmed? No. Is it implied? Yes. Because we have not had a in-game song rate that wasn't sent by Viperin in months. And we've gotten plenty of in-game song levels sent. I think that's a bit of an injustice personally. I think that filter should be turned off. The reason it's on is because of GD World and GD Lite. No, actually just GD World. GD World has daily levels. He can't make a level that's daily using an in-game song. RobTop mainly rates to find a daily. That's the correlation. It really sucks. Not a whole lot could be done for the rules of the contest. And because of that, as such, the rule of using an in-game song will not be in any future contests. I don't think it's fair that people make amazing levels and they just get shoved to the side. We're not going to have that as a future rule in any other contests. So if I host like a 1.1 contest, for instance, you're not going to be forced to use Time Machine. Okay. But, that really sucks. But regardless, we held in strong. We showed, hey, this is cool. Caught the attention of some of those mods that didn't like the other contest levels, which I was really happy about. Like Tricipital was a much bigger fan of the Purist levels than he was of the first contest. So I think those are all really cool things. It just sucks that no rates. Let's see here. What if a remake one of the level is made with a custom song version of the music? That's a thing, Packfield. If you want to update your Purist entry to use the Newgrounds version to try to get it rated, go for it. You can do whatever you want for your entries now. In fact, I'd highly recommend it. And then when it does get rated, you can just update the level and change back the song, huh? So for those who made a entry with Stereo Madness back on track, Dry Out, Bass After Bass, Can't Let Go, and Jumper, you can do that. You'll have to use the song trigger to splice it exactly the way you want it, but you can change to the Newgrounds version now if you want. If you use Polargeist, you have a bit of a more difficult problem because Rob Top's cut of Polargeist is 10% faster than the actual song. So I believe there is a Newgrounds Polargeist piano remix, though, that is the GD cut. So I would recommend maybe using that if you wanted to update your track or update your level with a Newgrounds track. Okay, I'm wasting a lot of time. Let's talk about some other things that went well. Having one judge went so much better because having to find 5 people that have the time that I have to grade was not a great idea in the first contest. Having just one person grade was great. Use the edit song trigger and set the speed to +1. Thank you, NetFedEx. If you're using Polargeist, edit song trigger, set speed to +1 should get you the speed that you need. But anyway, having one judge, so much better. I was able to get this done as fast as I could. I didn't have to worry about anyone else or waiting on anyone else or having to do what I did last contest of highlighting my top picks for people to grade. Scorch, I see you're in chat. You're one of those people that had to deal with this. Don't have to worry about having to mark it down as like a magenta grade or a blue grade. Everything got graded. Everything got a score that qualified. Another positive thing is how I decided to handle ties, okay? So I figured this would happen. I didn't expect this many levels would get a 22.5 and above. But I expected, this would happen. There's going to be some ties. And so I decided to... I'm going to talk about your entry soon, Packfield. I think it's a good case to bring up. I decided for ties to have Scorch help me. So I'm going to turn this on. This is an image that I got of Scorch's. So this is what Scorch did. So I gave him all of the maps, and then he gave his own total, which is, you can see it on the far right. He graded it like I would have graded it. Only his grading wasn't shown to you because what I thought was more important was placement. His grade is specifically just to place these within their tied fields. So even though Polar Festival got a 23.5 from him and Pulse Rod thing got a 22, because Polar Festival was already in this 23 tie group, it stayed within the group. So just because it's a silver, it has to stay in the silver. So that's kind of how I ran that. From that, I then tallied up the final order, which is right here on screen now. And this is what the final order ended up being. Notice there is one level that is grayed out in the results. And that is Polartic. Polartic did not make it into the results video. Why do you suppose that is, everybody? Go ahead and say it in a chat. I see NLK already submitted an answer. Why do you think Polartic did not qualify for the results? Now remember, this is also my Polargeist favorite, which is also interesting. Yeah, NetFedEx got it. Polartic got... So here's the fun thing about Consequences entries. They submitted Polartic and Keep Moving. I gave them the exact same score. Handed off to Scorch. Scorch gave Keep Moving 0.5 higher than Polartic. And remember, only one entry per creator qualifies for the top 15, top 16. So the highest entry per creator is what qualifies for the top 16. And in this case, Keep Moving got 0.5 higher than Polartic from the tiebreaker, which means Polartic would have gotten 10th place. But because it's by the same creator, it is grayed out. Still featured in the video because it was my personal favorite Polargeist entry. I liked it more than Polar Festival. I liked it more than the other Polargeist entries like Deep Docks and all that. Yes, Enola K is the only other person this has happened to. If you don't remember last contest, Enola K got 13th place. He would have also got 15th place, but because he already had a placement, Lava Hell Map got 15th place instead. So, is it a fair rule? I think it is. I don't want people winning a contest twice. I don't want someone getting first and second place. So that's why I have this rule in place. But it does mean that something like Polartic might be missing from the results video. And I think that's okay. But anyway, let's also talk about tie breaking. Now, Scorch, I really, really appreciate you doing this for me. In fact, everyone, you should thank Scorch for helping me break the ties. I would not have been able to do this on my own. Nor would I have had like a good process for that. So thank you so much for doing that, Scorch. That being said, I disagree with your scoring. Let me turn this off. In particular, you put Verdant Dystopia as a 20 total score. I really disagree with that. I think Verdant Dystopia it's a 22.5, but it's the best of its category. Verdant Dystopia should, in my opinion, have been 12 or 11th or 12th. It should have been 11th, in my opinion. But that's to be expected. Having somebody else with a different opinion help with judging, that's how we balance it out. So even though I really liked Verdant Dystopia, Scorch might not have, and that is totally fine. Verdant Dystopia still made it in the top. It just maybe didn't get where it wanted to. Although, yeah, so I would have put maybe Verdant Dystopia at the top. I really like that. Other than that, I kind of agree with the placements overall that you decided. Oh, yes, it did end slightly early, so that might have been... Yeah. Oh, Nostalgia, you totally deserved... I think you deserved top 11. Verdant Dystopia was so pretty. My favorite of Back on Track as well. Actually, I'm going to talk about the favorites in a little bit here, but... but yeah, the other thing I need to talk about. Pulse Rod Thing by Activate GD. Got a perfect score from me in gameplay, decoration, creativity, and sync. The only time that has ever happened. The only time I've ever given out a perfect score. They had linked objects, so I took away a point, right? 1.0 deduction. They lost a point before linked objects. So I gave it a 24. Scorch then grades it. Scorch gives it the exact same score as Piston Purity. So Piston Purity and Pulse Rod Thing are tied. So Falling Map is the top. Falling Map is the winner. Pulse Rod Thing and Piston Purity are tied. How do we break the tie? I went with the level that is more possible to make in the update. Piston Purity, which had no 1.0 violations. Pulse Rod Thing did. So the level that got a perfect score ended up getting third because of that 1.0 violation. Which is why I was trying to really stress at the start of the contest, hey, double check all of these rules before you submit. This is important. Make sure you do this. That is the reason why this situation right here. She would have been first, got third instead. It is how it is. Is that unfair? I don't know. It might feel a little unfair. Yeah, that's fair, Scorch. The quality went down here a little bit towards the end. Yeah, I thought it was fine, but if you thought it wasn't consistent enough, that is totally fine. I also value consistency. So, yeah, if only they unlinked everything, it would have been a different results. But yeah, yeah. Talking about the top results, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. There was a couple people that were a bit upset about G bonus round getting at the top because you technically could not complete the level if you took the main route, which I disagree. I disagree. I think the conceptual idea that King K had about entering practice mode to restart the song is brilliant. There's still a way to pass the level without taking the bonus round. So I thought that was fine. But thinking outside the box like this is what I want to encourage in level creation overall. I did the same thing of the thinking outside the box when I made Crash Landing for the 1.0 community, which I don't know if that was well established, but Crash Landing was an example level for the contest. That's something I find important is for me also to have the experience that you all have in the contest. And I hadn't made a Purist level before, so that's why Crash Landing was created. But Crash Landing has the whole rotating your device gimmick, which is an outside of the game thing that kind of impacts the way that the level's played. I love that, and I want to see more of that. And so I was very happy with G bonus round for attempting that. It was an awesome. All right. Gonna move on to this window. So, ooh. So yeah, I've lost the train of thought. We're gonna get to the community questions shortly. I do want to show you this. So this is what my document looked like. You can't see the stuff over here would have been the total and the comments as well as my grading. But right here, is what my sheet looked like. You might notice the multicolored names. This is how I calculated how many levels were used each song. So like for instance, S Madness landscape level is highlighted in this deep blue. That means it used Stereo Madness. Mountain Climb used Back on Track. It's highlighted in this light pink. Light green is Poltergeist. Dark red is Dry Out. Light blue is Base After Base. Like deep magenta or light magenta is Can't Let Go, and a purple is Jumper. So that is how I calculated how many songs were, or which levels used what songs for the calculation in the video. And anything that you see highlighted in light blue on the side here was what I considered to be my favorite level using each song. So S Madness landscape level is highlighted in light blue. Polarctic is highlighted in light blue. All that stuff. So additionally, I also got like all the information. I got player color recommendations as well as like device recommendations and videos, what the level's about. This column in the second to last column is just the checklist thing. I usually hide that. I don't know why it's not hidden when I took the screenshot, but yeah. That's kind of what my form looked like. I'm not going to show you the actual form because last time people copied the link and started typing in it. Didn't want that. So, hey, Bolvanock. So, yeah. Now, let me talk about the awards. Let's talk about the awards. I think a big positive is the Hall of Fame. I think the Hall of Fame is a positive for the contest. What did you all think about the Hall of Fames? That is the Hall of Fame for gameplay, decoration, creativity, and sync. You got in the Hall of Fame if you got full points inside that category. You get a custom role if you're in the Hall of Fame. Was that something we liked? You think it's better than certain individuals? Okay. Yeah, it did lead to predicting the winners if you paid close attention, but I think it moved fast enough and it was near the end that wasn't really a big problem. I will say the Hall of Fame was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to set up. In fact, I was actually originally planning on having clips instead of just names. And I spent like 5 hours recording clips and scrapped it because it was too much work. Like, yeah, you can still submit questions. I'll also open for questions a little bit later, Jigsaw. But yeah, I wanted a chance to show off those who did a great thing with their level. Yeah, exactly, PMC. Giving non-winners recognition was the goal. I might. Well, the other thing at the Hall of Fame is I couldn't do individual awards because I was the only judge. Like, I couldn't do the best gameplay award because I had 20 people that got best gameplay, you know? So, by having the Hall of Fame awards, that meant I could recognize people for what they did while also still having awards to show in the video. And I couldn't really do Hidden Gem Award either because we were supportive enough with each other that there wasn't really a hidden gem. Except Releza. In fact, let's talk about Releza real fast. I released a video for this today called the Purist Hidden Gem. The reason is I accidentally skipped it when playing all the levels on live stream and finding levels for the Unnoticed Weekly levels. So Releza was a hidden gem in ways. It was an excellent level that just went under the radar because I missed it. Another level that I missed that also went under the radar, let me see if I can find it, is this, Deep in the Ocean. Sorry, no, not Deep in the Ocean. What is the level called? Oh, it's called Shiny Sea, right? Yeah, Shiny Sea. This level I also forgot to play on stream. So, but it did end up getting a 20.5. So, two excellent levels that I just accidentally skipped, which is something I'll have to be very careful about in future contests. But yeah, couldn't make individual awards, so I decided to do Hall of Fames instead. I think the Hall of Fames turned out excellent. Community Favorite Award is what I now call the fan favorite. I don't know why. I think it was because of the Waterflame album. I should have called it the fan favorite. Regardless, I think the thing in Discord where we vote on the best one through a bracket system works really well. So I'm going to continue doing fan favorite awards in future contests. We'll talk about the funny levels soon. I wanted to talk about the judge favorites. How do we feel about having 7 judge favorites this contest? Only one judge, but we had 7 judge favorite awards. How do we feel about that? I felt like with having 7 songs that you could pick from, I think having best level, because I didn't want to do best level of each song because that's just called the results, and the only thing that would be different would be like Stereo Madness as an award, you know? So I think having a judge favorite for each song was a good compromise for that. That way you got what I thought was the best level of each song, you know? I wanted to go through some of those judge favorites real fast. Because let's talk about Stereo Madness. There were 6 entries using Stereo Madness. Only 6 entries using Stereo Madness. And I had to decide between 3 levels. These 3 levels were A Short Walk with You, Stolen Entry LOL by Yuji, and S Madness Landscape. S Madness Landscape and A Short Walk with You were both very short levels, but I didn't. Stolen Entry LOL was fantastic in its theme. I didn't like how it was basically a Stereo Madness rehash. I didn't like how it felt so similar to Stereo Madness. So I went with S Madness landscape level instead. Even though it was really short, I thought it did a great job. Yeah, stolen entry low. Let's actually take a look at its score. So it scored 89th. It had linked objects, so it lost a point. Gameplay I thought was actually really good. An 8.5 is a good score for gameplay. Decoration was really good. It had almost no sync. And I had to knock down a point for creativity. Because of that, it's at an 18.5. Because it feels just like a Stereo Madness remake. So, even my comment here, great gameplay, a bit basic, great deco, was empty in some places. Would give us a 5 in creativity, but it's so close to Stereo Madness that it didn't get any Hall of Fames. Because of that point deduction, it got pretty low. I just didn't like how it was similar to Stereo Madness. Why weren't all these made in 2013? Well, something you got to know is that as levels evolve, ideas evolve. So, although people might have had ideas like this, they didn't know how to execute these ideas, right? Like, for instance, Dino Land by Enola K is different than Trip to Jurassic Park by someone who actually built it in 1.0. They had the same ideas, but the idea on how to execute the ideas has changed over time. So people didn't know that they could execute 1.0 in this way, using the objects and ideas that we have now. So, yeah. That's why Stolen Entry Low was not my favorite. I just felt like it was too similar to Stereo Madness. Talking about Back on Track, you may have remembered from the video I said it was between 2 levels, and I chose Verdant Dystopia. The other level that I was very close to choosing was this one, Mage Arena by Seb. It also got 19th place. Mage Arena is fantastic. I just felt Verdant Dystopia was just... Verdant Dystopia is just a little bit better, but Mage Arena is still an amazing level. You should check out Mage Arena. It's one of the most creative entries to the contest. Definitely deserves as high of a place that it got because it was a fantastic work. Yeah, very creative level. Polartic, the moment I saw it, I knew it was my favorite. Polartic just does everything I love in at 1.0 level. Other contenders was Polar Festival was in my top choices. Takeoff was in my top choices. What else was? North Star was in those. Ball Small Finalities. That might have been Can't Let Go. Can't remember. No, that one was Can't Let Go, I think. But Shadow Snow was another one that I was really considering. But Polartic blew me away. Polartic is so cool. Ball Small Finalities is an underrated gem. Yeah, Ball Small Finalities is really cool. If you haven't played it, it's 3 routes in one. So you can take 3 separate routes. It's also a little difficult. So, but it's a really fun level to play through and practice multiple times. Like, it has so much replay value. All right, let's talk about Dry Out. Because I'm going to be honest, I didn't like many of the levels that used Dry Out. Like Polartic jumped out at me. Verdant Dystopia jumped out at me. Not that many Dry Out levels jumped out at me. I know PCB did. Pure Ruins did. Zoob's level, It's Almost Dry did. But and Rocky Mountains did. It was kind of just between those 4 for me. I have to say I liked Rocky Mountains the most of these options. I think Rocky Mountains did a great job building a simple landscape. The fake out was really well done. Very fun level to play. And that last point's kind of what took me away from doing PCB and Pure Ruins. Pure Ruins had an awful click that I really hated playing through because there was just one click that played really badly, and PCB's gameplay is kind of all over the place. But that's why I settled on Rocky Mountains, is because it was like the most consistent level that used dry out. Zoob's level was really, really well done, but it was also just like a 1.0 version of Factory Function. So it wasn't really one that I liked or that I found exceptional, you know? So that's why I went with Rocky Mountains. It was a solid level, did what it needed to do, was fun to play, like the fake out. I thought it was frankly, what I liked the best out of the dry out ones. I know some people might have a problem with that, which I totally understand. But okay, let's talk about base after base. Back to base. Oh, this is one. Because here's the deal. Back to base was in the beginning ones that I graded, and I had a bad time with it when I was grading it. I was tapping like way too early. I was in a bad mindset, I think, when I was grading it that day. And I think it was like I think I graded just back to base and a couple levels around it. I gave it like a 20 when I first graded it, and I'm like, I play it again, I'm like, what the? This is so much better than I remember it being. And I realized, especially in terms of my later grading, yeah, this should be 5s across the board. Except in gameplay. Gameplay, I do feel like, was a little rough, but if I was to grade this after the contest ended, I think I would put back to base I think I would give it a 9, which would boost it in 23. Now, the problem why back to base didn't make it in the top results is because of this score deduction. They had both blocks and triggers above Y40. So, this is, I think, the most robbed level of the contest. On a retrospect, back to base should have been in the top 12. And that, I think, is probably my biggest failure of this contest, is I missed out on this level. So, yeah. If there's something to hate me on, I would say back to base not being in the top is what to hate me on with this. At least, though, I after I played through everything again, and I at least made sure to give it my personal favorite base after base, because that level, it's so well done. Back to base is so well done. It's quite fun once you learn it. Like, it's such a cool level. Really, really cool, like, visual stuff. Like, you're inside the blocks for one of the parts, which I haven't seen since like a Darwin level 7 years ago. Fantastic level, especially for like being their first level after like 2.0. That's awesome. Can I confirm the confirmation message above? What message? About a CC3? I'll talk about that later. Okay, Can't Let Go favorite. This one I think probably surprised some people because, like, Lost Map, obvious choice. That one's awesome. Though, to be honest, I already knew this one was going to win. By the time I was doing this, I'm like, yeah, Lost Map's going to win. There's other levels I want to showcase off. We in the Hood Boys, I was like, there's other levels I want to showcase off. So Can't Let Go was really kind of between a couple levels for me. The two that I can really think of right now is Quaver and The Hills Have Eyes. Unfortunately for me, Quaver's gameplay was just a bit too hard. I couldn't like reasonably play it and beat it. But if you've not, Quaver is so cool. Quaver got even though it didn't have much pulse sync as much as I normally would want for a 5. What was cool about Quaver in the last part is that the melody was put out in musical notation for you as you were jumping between it. So even though it didn't like pulse to the music, it was still syncing to the music through an out of the box way. by putting down the melody on sheet music. And I thought that was so cool. Because it is cool. Unfortunately, though, the gameplay was just a little bit too hard for me to like reasonably put it as my favorite level, you know? However, the Hills Have Eyes is, again, really creative level. Really fun level. The whole thing looks really good. It's just, there were a sync thing, and there was a little bit of gameplay that was a little unclear. Other than that, it was a fantastic project. Again, another one that I might push higher if I was grading it now, you know, after having played through everything several times and kind of re-understanding, you know? So I went with that one. There's definitely some others I could have went with. Jade Travel Map is one of those. Where's Factorial was another. Factorial also did some really creative pulse stuff. But yeah, Jade Travel Map, if it was just a little bit longer, I would have definitely selected that one. Jade Travel Map's fantastic. Like, so many of these levels are fantastic. I think the top 50 deserves to be rated. Let's talk about Jumper. Jump Out is my favorite one using Jumper. Again, nothing with Jumper, like Dry Out, nothing with Jumper really stood out to me as much. I think the only other one that was like really in contention with it was Tetris by GD New Hippo. But I really like Jump Out's gameplay. Jump Out's gameplay is too hard for the contest. I actually still need to do a full recording of it in one take. But its puzzle elements are very fun. It's a fun level to play through in practice mode over and over again because it's like you're figuring out a puzzle in the gameplay. It's a type of memory that I love to play. So that's why I chose my specific judge favorites and also the levels that got close. I think that's also important to mention. But yeah. Real quick before we move on to some like additional like question stuff, I want to talk about Blip Blop Fun Step. Those who don't know, Blip Blop Fun Step was by two people who scored in the top 5 of the previous contest. Zypher and Blackbird both had parts in this. They got second and third in the last contest, respectively. The other person who was in this is Galaxy Fard, who got a rated 1.0 level 2.2. Now, Scorch, when I told him to help break ties, thought this was going to be in the top. The creators of it thought it was going to be in the top. And to be fair to them, it's a really cool level. Unfortunately, the fact that it's a collab kind of took away the points. Couldn't give 5 on decoration because there were inconsistencies in the deco between all 3 creators. There were some inconsistencies in sync between all 3 creators because one of them felt like they were building with a slightly different, like they were building with like AirPods or something. Their syncs, their pulses did not line up like everybody else's did. Creativity. I had to take away some points from this because, to be honest, Galaxy Fard's parts kind of look like their other rated 1.0 level. Like, what did I say about creativity here? I don't know if I commented on it, but gameplay was awesome. But it also lost points for linked objects. I think there were linked objects in Zypher's part, actually. So that is why it did not get... It did get 50th place, so it is still in the top 50. But if you were wondering where that level was, that's where it was. Okay. What are some other levels that I needed to talk about? So we talked about Pulse Rob. We talked about Keep Moving Polarctic. Pure Ruins. Nitro, you would have gotten a higher score if you didn't have the swag routes I was not bothered by. It was the specific swag route that skipped an entire portal that I was bothered by. If it had that, I probably would have given it a 9. The other thing is there's a click that only works like 50% of the time in like the 34% cube. That also took it away from getting higher. If it had those two things, it might have gotten a perfect score for me. Even though I don't like the level that much visually, it does everything it needs to do to score well in this contest. It's just those couple of things kind of took it away from me. Reminds me, this one should be grayed out. I don't know why it's not grayed out on the dock. Should be like that, and then this should be blue. Should be a darker gray too. Because that one doesn't count, but Major Arena we talked about. I was kind of surprised Dino Land got that high, but I mean it's an excellent level. Cho's Path surprised me a lot. Let's talk about this one. Deep in the Ocean was in 3 Hall of Fames, but got a 6.5 on its gameplay. Deep in the Ocean's gameplay did not play well at all. And it's unfortunate. If it had a better gameplay, it definitely would have been in the top for me. This would have definitely been in top 16 if it had better gameplay. But really, really cool level. Does a lot of stuff that even like in the first contest nobody did. Awesome project. Talk about that one. Fun fact, NLK scored in the top 30 with their 3 entries. Every entry scored in the top 30, which I found pretty interesting. Even their joke entry did. Ball Small Finalities, great levels. You check that out. We talked about this stuff. PCB is another really cool level. All right, there's a level that I wanted to talk about. Matrix Reloaded would have got higher if it was not based off their first contest entry. 945, and then they got a 2.5 in creativity. That's the thing. For these contests, you really got to do something new. If you don't, you're not going to get as high of a score you want. I am looking at your stuff, making sure you're trying some new stuff out. All that good stuff. Field of Flowers surprised me a lot. That was a really fun level. Sahara the same way. Factorial was awesome. It's just so many cool levels. It's so hard to like keep to talk or to find the time to talk about all of them. I did want to talk about Packfield's level. Not that one, but Beats Mania. Those who didn't know, Packfield misread the instructions and they made a level with 40,000 objects instead of 4,000. And I'm very proud of them for doing this. They made a CC version. They took the time to take their level and scale it down to the contest rules, even though, like, to make a level like that and spend a lot much time and to not have it count is really demotivating. But Packfield still pushed through and got it made. Almost got in top 52 as well, almost got in top 50 as well, even with the stripped down version. You should play Beats Mania. It's really well done for 1.0. Like, it's a fantastic 1.0 level. It's just I'm disappointed that I had to not qualify it. It's really good. Packfield, you asked about zeros. There were a couple zeros in the categories. Let me actually just search zero. Oh, that's not going to work. They're going to be at the bottom here, but I think I had some zeros though. Yeah. Zero and Sync. This level had like really flashy parts that just didn't sync to the music at all. The transitions didn't sync to the music. Yes, that's a good thing to note, Pulvanok. All these levels I played and graded on mobile, like how they would have been played and graded in 1.0. So if you have any questions about, why is my sync score a little lower? It's probably because it didn't sync on mobile. So I played all this on mobile. I graded everything on mobile. So let's see, another zero in Sync. Just Jump Woman. If you haven't played Jump Woman, it's an interesting project. I thought I gave a 0 in gameplay, but I guess not. Yeah, I gave a 1. Or Beef Sausage Lover. And a 0.5 for I Ate Michael Socks. I should have gave I Ate Michael Socks a 0. I'm going to be honest. That gameplay is really bad. Other than that, I think everybody got at least like 1 point in all the categories. I think those 2 zeros in Sync were the only zeros I gave out. Yeah. One more I want to talk about, and it's this one, Afterbase. This is the only disqualified entry that I scored because I forgot to not score it. If you didn't know, Just Cody entered 4 times, asked for Afterbase to not qualify because you can only enter 3. So it's supposed to be not graded. I graded it anyway. Now, here's what I do want to talk about this real fast. There's a couple maps that qualified for the contest that got deleted during the grade time. I didn't grade quick enough. Base jumping, Soldu, OWO by Falling Pie. These were all levels that were up, but got deleted during the judging time period, you know? And I felt bad. I felt like I wasn't grading fast enough. People were deleting their entries because they didn't think the contest results are coming out. Like, that was my fear. I don't think anyone actually thought that, but... So these are all levels that didn't qualify for the contest. Lucas submitted a level called Series, but I couldn't find it. I don't know if it was friends only or something. Flair the Red Fox never finished his Choose Way level. It was looking so fun. I'm a bit disappointed by that, but I also know they were student teaching. So Never Temporary was too short. Someone submitted the CC level again. I don't know why. Had a bunch of levels that I just couldn't find. Hard map. Meow Purr. Someone submitted the TCD Old Top 1, which I didn't qualify because it's way too hard. And then we had these 3. So, yeah. Any questions regarding scoring? I hope all this made sense. Not properly uploaded. Flair Fox Choose Way was unlisted. It never got listed, and only listed entries counted. So because it was unlisted, I had to put never properly uploaded. Here's my key. Red means disqualified. Blue means it was a favorite. Color groupings is how I decided to do contest judging here. What you need to know, because there were so many ties, I couldn't give a definite placement. I tried, and that's what this is all about. But what really matters is knowing what you're in. So, like, if you got 20 points, you're in the top 50. 14.5 points, you're in the top 142. 9 points, you're in the top 171. That's how I decided to handle the grading for everybody. So they can say, oh, I'm in top 150. I got 13.5 points, you know? Towards the end, it's became single digit stuff, but I think that's okay. I did, however, decide I was going to score everything and like order it. I ordered everything, and here's how I ordered it. Highest scores on top, lowest on bottom. Entries were tied. Top 17, the ties were decided by Scorch. Anything else, I followed this algorithm. If they have a Hall of Fame, the entry gets put at the top of their tied, at the top of their tie. If they had a Gameplay Hall of Fame, they were put top, and if they had additional Hall of Fames, they were put above one that just had the Gameplay Hall of Fame. Then it was ordered to the Deco Hall of Fames, the Sync Hall of Fames, and then the Creativity Hall of Fames. I ordered it this way because Gameplay had the most points, and I felt like Deco was harder to do than Sync, which was harder to do than Creativity. Pretty easy to do a creative idea. It's hard to do a creative idea well. So that's why I have it in this order. Gameplay, I thought, was the most difficult. Decoration, second. Sync, third. Creativity, fourth. If the entry did not have... let's start this. If it had a 1.0 violation, it's put at the bottom instead of the top. So if there were 2 Gameplay Hall of Fame entries and one of them used linked objects, it was put below the other. Okay? If there was 2 regular entries and one had linked objects, it was put below that one. To anything that didn't have a Hall of Fame, the entry with a higher gameplay score is put above. So 2 or more entries and 2 Hall of Fames that isn't gameplay, if one has a higher gameplay score, it's put above the other. 2 entries that have the same violation, higher gameplay is put above the other. 2 entries with nothing, higher gameplay is put above the other. So let's take a look in green, for instance. Field of Flowers, 10 in gameplay, but Sahara also had a 10 in gameplay, right? Not much I could do about that. These are interchangeable, okay? So you can change these either way around. I couldn't fix that. But, for instance, Factorial, Decoration Hall of Fame beats out Creativity and Sync Hall of Fames. It's put above. 2 Hall of Fames beats out just 1 Hall of Fame. Sync and Creativity instead of just Sync, it gets put above. 2 that are in sync, 1 had a violation, it's put below the other. Okay. Then here, these are Creativity Hall of Fames. One highest gameplay goes on top, then gameplay, then violation. Highest gameplay, and then lower gameplays. So if you were wondering why Portals and Beams is above Forest Sector X, it's because Portals and Beams had a higher gameplay score. Okay. I know that's probably the most confusing part is how I ordered stuff. That's how I ordered stuff. So, okay. I think I mentioned everything that I needed to talk about, except future plans. I'll talk about future plans later. Is the stream cropped weirdly? Maybe a little bit. It's fine. I want to get into some of the questions that you as a community have asked. And at this point, 18 responses. Jeez, y'all been busy. If you have any questions that are not being answered now, you can put them in chat. I'll be reading through. I'll also ask Enola K to kind of read through and find anything. So, let's start with the first question. So, they have allowed me to share their feedback live. This is from Shadowed124. You spelled my name wrong. It's not Shadowed124. It's... Oh. You wanted a lowercase s. Well, too bad it's a name. It's a proper noun. You get a capital. Moving on. This is from Nostalgian, and he has asked to share this live. Well-structured, staff had answers to everything. Very fun to have so many restrictions. Very accessible for new players. For me, future contests must be just as accessible to experienced players as to inexperienced ones. That's a good thing to point out. With these contests, I try to make sure that you can experience it as a professional creator and as a new creator. There's opportunity for all of those. Let me mute real fast. Okay. But yeah, I try to make this as accessible to everybody as possible, as well as fun for everybody. All right. I started my recent level creation journey with this contest, even though I already tried the editor a few times beforehand. Oop, I need to mute. Sorry. All right, that should be a better skew for y'all. Sorry about that. Someone just came home. Okay, I started my recent level creation journey with this contest, even though I already tried the editor a few times beforehand. Some other people were probably in the same boat. Thanks. I'm glad you started your journey with this level, Nostalgian, or with this contest. That was kind of my goal. Get people creating, get people trying some things, because for most creator contests, it's daunting. It's hard to submit an entry against people that are amazing, you know? With this contest, it feels manageable. Building a 1.0 level. Everyone can do that. Building a Purist 1.0 level. I can do that. it's going to restrict down the pro builders, I have a chance. That's another reason why I hosted the Purist contest second, was to give more people the opportunities to get in the top. And it worked out well. Like Activate GD, for instance, had no credit points, got a perfect score. An accessible contest for sure. Thank you for sharing that feedback, Nostalgia, and I really appreciate it. All right, I will keep that one. This next one's from Skyfly R1. Question: creators who are mentioned in the Hall of Fame do not get a part in the Purist collab. Is that how it is? Yes. Hall of Fame is just an award for a Discord role, okay? As well as being showed in the video to give acknowledgement. The Purist Winners collab, I laid out 13 parts for me and the 12 others. So I'm going to try to get that started a little bit from now, by the way. I'm still waiting on 2 people to respond to me, so. Okay. Also, Jump Woman said, "What an honor to be at the bottom 3 with a score of 7. Mythic worthy indeed, my boy. Remember, don't mess with my husband. He's too old. Thank you, my dear." Thanks for sharing that message from Jump Woman, Skyfly R1. I greatly appreciate that Jump Woman enjoyed the contest. I did not enjoy Jump Woman. This is from Falling Pie. "Hello guys, I want to tell you that I really had a lot of fun joining this CC. I honestly didn't expect to get the first place, to be honest. Such an amazing and supportive community, and thanks." I'm glad you feel supported, Falling Pie. I'm really happy you joined the contest. The Lost map is a fantastic level. So, thanks for joining. Please respond to my DM about your prize money. I am still waiting for you to respond to that. You're the last person to grab the prize. If you see this, please respond to me. Okay. All right. This comes from New Prince GD. Not directly related to the Purist CC, but please, for the love of God and the God of love, stop pinging so much. My DC is drowning in notifications. I try not to ping that much. Like, I have the announcements notifications specifically for mini stuff I want to announce. But for stuff that I want people to see related to contests, important server information, as well as important contest information, like this, what we're doing right now, I would consider important contest information, I'm going to ping everybody. Like, sorry that you got 3 pings from the @everyone when the contest results came out, but I feel like I'm not pinging all that much. I would love to hear what chat thinks. I don't want people to be annoyed by the pings, but Tana just messaged me on Discord saying and make an announcement ping. I do have an announcement ping. I use the announcement ping for rated 1.0 levels as well as just generic announcements that doesn't need to be shared with everybody. I only ping @everyone when there's an important thing going on that I think everybody should be aware of. For instance, when we get the Demon List 1.0 Demon List started and rolling out, which I'm hoping can be done this month, I'm going to ping everybody because that's important. But like when I release my 7th 1.0 level, I'm just going to ping the announcements, like, because that's not as important as the server-wide 1.0 Demon List, you know? So I will be more considerate about pings, but I feel like I've been doing a normal amount of pings for a Geometry Dash Discord server. So thanks for bringing it up, though. I appreciate that. All right, this is from GD New Hippo. "Firstly, this contest was really successful, and I hugely appreciate it." Oh, I should not be showing this, should I? Hold on. We're going to turn that on. Sorry. "Firstly, this contest was really successful, and I hugely appreciate it. I just want to have some feedback about the design of the CC. Oh, I'm checking something. Oh. They have some feedback about the design of the CC. Make the score ceiling higher. I agree. I think 25 points worked well for a 30-person contest. I didn't expect 176. I might have should have maybe weighted the contest differently. But the other thing is, it's hard to grade something like if I had gameplay out of 40 points, it becomes a lot harder to pinpoint where exactly each level goes, you know? And that's a issue with only having one judge, is that I have to have a smaller grade system or else it's going to become too difficult. But not having multiple judges means that we're going to have ties, because the judges' different scores will make the average into the decimals. But not having different judges means everything's going to be tied up, and that becomes an issue. So I will say this is probably the only contest I'll only have me judging. I'm going to have more than one judge for future contests. Any future contests I host will have more than one judge. Just having one makes everything tied up and nasty to sort through. So I do agree. That is a great feedback point. 25 points could be good for a small CC, but this contest had over 180 levels participated. Should have a higher skill ceiling as well as minimize ties. I wish it was just like the first CC with a ceiling of 100 points. I do too. Next contest will have 100-point ceilings with weighted grades as well, like what I did with the first contest, more than likely. With weighting the grades, I can have someone judge something out of 10 points, gets weighted to 40. Way easier to handle when you have multiple judges. Having a single judge, it was just a bit of an issue. Okay. Second point about the Resurgent CC list. As much as you mentioned that winners are inside the Resurgent list, it turned out Rizella by Artua was not inside the list somehow. Wait, what? It's not in the list? Oh my god, it was not on the list. Oh, I'm updating that right now. I should have saw this earlier. Realiza's requested for 6. That's going to put it like 30. I cannot believe I missed that. Realiza got missed again. I am so bad at this. Remember me telling you about how Realiza was the hidden gem because I skipped it in stream? I skipped it in everything, apparently. Okay. That is now updated. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, GD New Hippo. It's the curse level. Oh, no wonder R2 is not responding to... Oh, no, they did respond to me. Never mind. But I don't blame them for not responding to me earlier for a while. I feel so bad about that. Thank you so much for bringing that up, GD New Hippo. Way to look out for your fellow contest participants. I appreciate that. That's all I would say. I love the contest so much. I hope there are more of these. That's great to hear. We're going to talk about that later. All right. Gino Hippo submitted 2 responses. It's basically said the same thing. Okay. I Exist has the next feedback or comment. And it says, how many entries did you beat while grading? I beat a few entries. I didn't beat every entry. I grade through practice mode for most part. So I didn't beat all of them. I did beat a few of them. Quite a few of them, actually, because I play them just for fun on my off chance. I love the levels. I will say I have a harder time remembering these levels in comparison to the first contest, and I think part of that is the fact that it used only 7 songs. The first contest, I was able to group the song in with how the level looks. This contest, I was really struggling to remember each of the levels, but I did beat some. I had a lot of fun playing through some of those, so I did beat more than what is seen. Well, there was a time where I was just bored while the contest was going on. I just beat the levels that were released or tried to. Yeah. By the way, along this line, GD New Hippo also beat every level in both Resurgence lists. So you should give him a huge round of applause for that. There were some pretty tricky ones there. Like that's close to 90 levels. So he really was MVP on looking out for the other contest members. Very good to see. All right. Find the next one here. Next one's from NLK. And they said, why did my joke entries do so well? /J. Well, they did so well because they were creative, easy, synced to the song, and were fun to play. And looked good. Even your joke entries, you did such a creative, a short walk with you was so creative. Not just the cube, walking with the cube, but also the dandelion blowing ship part. You also pulse to the music. And there wasn't any problems. So, that's why I did so well. It's Nolock, by the way. I've been calling you Nolock since 10 years ago. I'm not changing it. It is pronounced Nolock. I pronounce Nolock. I have the special privileges to do that. So, all right. You also said, I am interested to know more about how many ties there were and the process used to decide to break them. We talked about that earlier. Almost every level was tied up. I think there were maybe 10 levels that weren't tied with something else. So. See ya, Jixa. Thank you for joining the stream. You can always catch the rest of this after it gets posted on my YouTube afterwards. So, all right. Thank you for submitting feedback and all. Okay. This is from Blackbird. Do you think this contest was better than the original 1.0 CC you hosted? And if so, what aspects differentiate this one from the previous? Yes. And the reason why is I wasn't put into any snafus, okay? I wasn't put into any pickles. The first contest, I had a major pickle. Judges weren't grading the entries. They were running out of time and, more importantly, running out of inspiration, getting burnt out from the 1.0 levels, that I had to come up with a situation or a fix on the fly and basically just have them grade my top entries. Okay. I'm keeping the thumbnail up in case there's any people who didn't want to have their name shared pack field. So once we get through these responses, you'll be able to see things again. But yeah, there are no situations that became difficult in this contest. It was difficult with my time, but that's something that happened in the first contest too. So, having one judge definitely made judging easier. That being said, I also created ties, so I had to have a tiebreaker as well as an algorithm to sort them out. Wasn't as big of an issue though as last contest. Okay, so that's really the big difference here. Was there something you think you may have left out while hosting the CC, or maybe was there something you would want to change? I didn't realize tint ground was an option inside the color triggers. I should have specified that in the grading rubric. I didn't realize it until the video was already made. Okay. So there were entries that used tint ground. What that means is that what you have as a background also changes the ground. Polar Festival used this. Okay. So Polar Festival technically wasn't 1.0. I used tint ground, which saved it 50 objects. Okay. But tint ground is a feature in the background trigger where whatever color your background is will make the ground the same color. It saves on triggers, basically. I should have mentioned that in the grading chart. I didn't realize it was a thing. That's what I would change, is putting that on the list of stuff you can't use. Left out while hosting this, Realiza was left out, as we have all seen. I should have been better about that. Otherwise, I think I got everything. I didn't leave out the pulse rods like I left out last contest. I didn't leave out, I didn't include blocks that were not supposed to be in the palette. I do think the ground spike was the wrong type. I don't think it matters much. About what I want to change, I would probably reorder some of the winners. I think I would put Back to Base in the top. as well as maybe Mage Arena. Both of those are really good. I might reorder some of the stuff. I would have probably argued a little bit more Scorch than what I did. About like Verdant Dystopia, for instance, needing to get higher. But other than that, yeah, that's kind of it. In my personal opinion, I think the CC was much more peaceful, if you can call it, in terms of submissions and handling. But that's because it didn't reach the same amount of audience as the first CC. It was still fun to build something in it nonetheless, and thank you for hosting it. I appreciate that, Blackbird. Yeah, this was a peaceful contest. I now knew the potential amount of entries I could get. I now knew the issues from the first contest and the feedback stream that we had last contest. I took that all into account and made something that I would hope was better. So that's probably why it felt a lot more peaceful, not because of the amount of people, but more because I have experience. I have a better idea about how to host a contest. Because my first 1.0 CC, I think, was my third ever hosted contest, and my first contest hosted using YouTube as the output medium, which is why it blew up. I hosted 2 in-game GD contests. First one got, I think, 30 entries, and the second one got 3. No, it got 5. So it's like, I that was my expectation going into the first contest, was to get 5 entries. That obviously didn't happen. But now that I know after that first contest, yeah. I think most contests from now on will go a lot smoother. So, NetFedX has the next one. Will there ever be a gameplay-focused contest? Yes, that was this contest. It was gameplay-focused. You got 10 points of the 4 categories. 10 points, 5, 5, 5. Gameplay was the most important thing. This was the gameplay-focused contest. So, I thought about maybe doing a layout contest just as a server contest later, as like a mini contest. Like this was supposed to be a mini contest. I might do a layout contest, but past that, I don't know if gameplay is going to be the highest category as it was in this one. This was the gameplay focused contest. All right, moving on. This person requested me to not mention their name, so I'm just going to read the feedback. Okay. How many levels will you showcase? Is there any criteria for what gets showcases? Okay. My goal is to showcase a lot of these levels, okay? That was my goal. The previous contest, I couldn't do that, okay? I have a video in the works of another of my series of awesome 1.0 CC levels in the works. That fell under once I got busy. And the problem is there's too many difficult levels. I couldn't finish that video because Old Beast was too long. I've been trying to record Old Beast for the video, and it's just it's taking a lot of time because I gotta get giant chunks when I record it, and then I gotta splice it together. Then I gotta put all 3 together. Then you need to upload the video, take a picture, put it as a screenshot, change the screenshot. It got to be too much stuff. And with like the long, hard levels, like G-Universe Editor's End took a lot of time out of me. I just haven't had the time to continue that series. Second contest happens. That series kind of fell under. There's still levels I want to show from the first contest. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm definitely going to try to do a similar thing for the Purist levels. Should be a lot easier for me to record. The hardest level was Jump Out, and I actually need to record that soon. But I plan on showcasing at least like the first 50 or something like that. Because there's so many good levels from this contest that I think need to be shown. I'll probably even do in like the top 100 or something. I'll have to see. I'll also be like picking and choosing what I think should be shown as well. But yeah. All right. Monochromacity, or Jigsaw on YouTube, has submitted me some Feedback here. What were some of your favorite entries that had 1.0 violations? Great question. Let's switch over to the sheet and we will see about that ourselves. So, Pulse Rod thing, obviously one of my favorite entries. You had a violation. G-bonus round had a violation. It had groups 1 through, it had chains assigned to groups 1 through 10 and group 19. Huh? I asked King K about it. He had no idea why it had that. Like, it's a giant mystery why these have groups. But he lost the point for that. Deep Docks had transition triggers for X10. Deep Docks is a fantastic level. Back to Base is probably one of my favorite levels in the contest. It had stuff above Y40. So, Quaver, I really love Quaver. Had Lofi, you had random spikes above Y40 at the very end. I didn't understand that. I only took away 0.5 instead of 1 because it's like, what? So that's what Quaver lost a couple of points. Yeah, which is crazy. If you didn't lose those points, you would have been in the top. You would have been in the 22.5. You would have gotten in the video. You can't explain. I'd love to see you explain. While he explains, North Star was really cool. Had linked objects, had to take away points. Tetris was awesome, but there was a block fade trigger before X10, like with Deep Docks. Above level, the chains hung slightly past Y40 too much by like too many movements. Jigsaw, I do have to hide the screen on questions because there's some people that request to not have their name shown. So that's why I have it hidden. So yeah. I took off 0.25 for that. I felt really bad about that. But fun step, linked objects. I like Matrix Reloaded a lot, but had blocks above Y40. Let's see, what are some other ones I really liked? Enter to New Worlds, above 140. Here had Z layering in the final part for some reason. Mufti's levels are always really fun. Here's an interesting one. Keith's entry under limit was 50 objects over the object limit. They were there because you're able to fall upwards and skip the ending, so they were there to prevent the player to fall upwards and force them. It was to prevent them from beating the level early. But they were too far up. Dang. But yeah, under limit was 50 objects over the limit. Pretty ironic. Out the Dark had 2.2 ship physics and a trigger before X10. Electron. Here's a big one. W. I really liked W. In fact, I need to talk about this level. Wes level W would have probably been in at least the top 20. Okay. They had triggers above Y40. So I took off a half point for that, actually. Yeah, I took off a half point for the triggers above Y40, right? They updated their entry after the grading. They asked me, hey, I have a secret way. Could I patch that? And I said, sure. You may patch only the secret way with the objects you have left. Was then proceeded to completely overhaul their level, changing some of the gameplay and changing more gameplay, adding deco, fixing stuff that I didn't give them permission to fix. Lost 2 points for doing that. I told people you cannot update your level after the deadline. He updated level after the deadline. He got the point loss for it. So, no, it is not the highest score deduction. The highest score deduction is Under the Stars. Lost 5 points because they used the 1.3 pulsing star, circle, and music note. And the stars were throughout the level. That lost him 2 points. The circle and the music note each lost him 1 point because they were used once. Yeah, that's okay, Barato. I was insanely picky. Yes, thank you, NLK. I pointed out to Boltrick that, hey, you're going to lose points for this. And Boltrick's like, it will ruin the level without him, so I'm keeping it. So, if anyone else was grading this, they probably would have disqualified this level. I didn't. I still wanted to give them a grade. But they lost 5 points. It also impacted their decoration score. Because I don't want to see these 1.3 stars everywhere. Yeah. Those are kind of the levels that I liked that used this thing. Okay. I'm going to put this back up here. Those are some of the levels I liked that had violations, as well as the biggest violations of levels. So, why is your name written in different ways? It's hard to write your name. I'm sorry. All right, this is from Pulvanok. I just have one question after the CC. It's always been a crazy zone, even with the last CC, but do you know, and if yes, do you mind sharing what would probably come next first? GJJ7 winners collab from the previous CC, third contest, new server project. That's a great question. If I had to guess what's going to come first, my guess is 1.0 Demon List. The official server 1.0 Demon List would be my guess of coming out first. I need to talk with the team about getting that ready because we have the website is functional. We have channels. It's just a matter of making sure the channels are like professional. Shortly after that, GJJ7. GJJ7 is a lot closer than I thought it was. I'm hoping to get that done soon. Winners collab from the previous contest. I don't know if it's going to happen. It might not. And that's something I've just came to accept. There has been some shown interest again. I think with Zypher has shown some interest in getting a part done for that. I think if he gets it done, that'll put more pressure on like Blackbird and Marangato and getting that done. Although I'm okay and content with that never getting finished. What I'm not okay and content with is not giving this current winner CC a chance. I'm going to try to get that organized and send information sent out to people as soon as I can. Because I want to get that contest underway. I need to build my part for that. That collab should be happening soon. But yeah. 1.0 Demon List probably is next. GDA7 after that. Another contest, we're going to talk about that later. Okay? So hold tight. Monochromacity has sent another question. What were your favorite levels from each Hall of Fame category that aren't judge favorite? That's a good question. Let's go back to the list. Okay, my favorite from the Gameplay Hall of Fame that's not judge favorite and didn't get in the top. Joe's Path. Joe's Path has so much replay value. I would say that's my favorite of the Gameplay Hall of Fame. Replay value, really smooth, very fun. Okay. Second place would probably go to either Sahara or Heights and Depths. Fun, very fun levels. Cure by Mufti is also in my top 3. Decoration. Let's cover that next. So it's not any of that. Deep in the Ocean. Yeah. Deep in the Ocean would be my... Mage Arena is another one that's up there. But Deep in the Ocean probably has the best echo in the contest. Some of the best echo in the contest. As well as Jade Travel Map. So that's kind of my top three. Mage Arena, Deep in the Ocean, Jade Travel Map for Deco Hall of Fame. Creativity Hall of Fame. Quaver is up there. I really like the Quaver. A Short Walk with You is up there. That blew me away creativity-wise. PCB is also one of those up there. Ransacked Rules and Can't Find Water are both fantastically creative stuff. And the other one is Operation Annihilate, probably. That was a really creative level. I really was blown away by the creativity in Operation Annihilate. That'd be my choice for creativity. For sync, that one's a little harder to tell. I'm trying to find one that really synced. I think back on 1.0 synced really, really well. If I remember right. Matrix Reloaded synced really well. Yeah, that's probably what I would say. A lot of the sync entries that were like really outstandingly good got on the top. But yeah, Purist Circles I think I'd also put on that list. Purist Circles synced really, really well. But I think the best syncing was back on 1.0. That didn't make it in the top. But yeah. Great question. Hope that answered it. So yeah, if you need it to go back and listen, you can. Monochromacity sent another thing. Not sure if this kind of question is allowed for this, but at the Purist 1.0 level I made after the contest was made before the contest ended and then entered into the contest, would have potentially placed. Infinity Loop. Let's play that. I don't think I've played this before. Oh, that's cool. You gotta find a way to escape the loop. I think I found it. What I'm seeing right now is gameplay's pretty memory heavy. Creativity is already a 5 out of 5. Very creative idea. You took too long. This gameplay, I think, is a little too difficult. The idea is fantastic. 5 on creativity. Gameplay's probably... like, I get where you're going for, but it's too difficult. Requires, like, too much practice. It's probably get a 6, if I had to guess. In terms of sync, there's not a whole lot of sync going on. So you'd probably get like a 2 in sync. And decoration, I'd give it like a 3.5. So that's kind of what I would give it. 6, 3.5, 5, 2. Which... let's see, 6, 3.5, 5, 2 would give what score? Oh, let me mute. All right. If I was grading it based on this contest's scoring, it'd put it in the top 123. I put it in this category. Again, very, very creative concept. Decoration has some interesting ideas. The gameplay is really hard to understand, not really well versed for the contest and what the contest is going for, and there was not that much sync. You got to keep in mind, though, 1.0 had really fantastic gameplay and good sync. This one it's too hard for what the contest wanted to be. So that's also just me from my first viewpoint, my first playthrough, just kind of filling it out. So it's not official. Not 11.5, 16.5. 16.5. Yeah. Yeah, if it was like choosing paths and you get a different ending, based on how far away you escape the loop, that probably would get it like an 8 on gameplay, for instance. But having it where you have to find that route is a little bit too hard to read. All right, we're going to go back to that cover. That's a great question, though. Yeah, very cool level, too. Thanks for sharing that. Nostalgian submitted something asking, why is Ransacked Rules so low in the ranking? Let's take a look. So, Ransacked Rules has scored 55th place. I gave it a 5 in its creativity. Very creative. Telling tale of modernism in the Old West. Gameplay was really well done, but was very basic. So it was just kind of, there's cool arts, I'm jumping over the arts, jumping on top of the art. There wasn't anything that like stood out to me gameplay wise, so I gave it. But there wasn't anything that took away, so I gave it an 8. If it had more interesting, fun gameplay, I would have given it a higher score here. The other thing, the arts are well done, but details and blocks looked very underdeveloped. So the arts that were excellent, that's a 3.5. It would get a 4 or a 5 if it didn't have the inconsistency issues. Because there were parts where I'd enter a building and the building's just fully black with one white line showing the roof. That's kind of an inconsistency issue. While other stuff like the town square had a ton of arts inside it, had some cars, had bell towers, had buildings that were labeled. It was just like entering the buildings that really took the score down because there was nothing in them, And the last thing, the sync was fine. It wasn't mind-blowing. It kind of was like backgrounds faded at transitions. Transitions were lined up with the music. If there were some actual like pulsing to the beat, or if the gameplay worked with the beat, I would have put it higher. I gave it a 3. It was slightly better than what I would consider an average. So that's where I put Ransacked Rules. Ransacked Rules is a really, really cool level, though. That's something I've mentioned this before, 540 backflip over 5's levels or Ling Prod's levels are always well developed and make you think. This one's no exception. It's showing you a town that thrived in the Wild West but is suffering in today's modern age. And as you play through that and as you replay through that, you notice these details, like the cars and how they've taken over, how there's cars inside an Old West like ghost town feeling, and how there's still a train running through. It's really, really cool stuff. But for this contest specifically, I was looking for like deco consistency. It didn't have as good a consistency as I would have wanted, but I still really like that level, and I'm definitely going to try to showcase it because it deserves to be seen, in my opinion. Shadow just submitted something that says base after base copy. Yep, that was your level for the contest, buddy. Moving on. Shadow sent a thing saying ignore my last question. Oh, I did not do that. Sorry. Tunnet sent one saying, why is I Ate Michael Socks not last? Let's take a look at the thing here. So, I Ate Michael Socks isn't last because 4 on the Floor got last. I Ate Michael Socks synced to the project a little bit. Not as strong as it probably should have been, but I Ate Michael Socks had creative gameplay ideas. I didn't like the decoration, did not like the gameplay, but it's these two things that boosted you just above 4 on the Floor. 4 on the Floor also had pretty poor gameplay. 4 on the Floor had not that much decoration at all. Yep, I need to remember to hide the forum. Thank you. 4 on the Floor had a couple creative ideas. A lot of stuff felt like derivative, though. And 4 on the Floor had some of the worst sync I've ever seen. It was also a really short level, 4 on the Floor was, which is why its gameplay is so low. That's why. Even though you made really poor gameplay, it was the creativeness of the gameplay that gave you enough points to overtake 4 on the Floor. See ya, Jigsaw. Thank you so much for joining. That's kind of my rationale about it. Then again, 4 on the Floor was made in like 30 minutes. Like, this was submitted in the first hour the contest was live. It doesn't surprise me it's this slow. And that's like with a lot of the bottom 4 levels. Let's talk about the bottom 5. 4 on the Floor was made in like 30 minutes. I Ate Michael Socks was kind of a joke level, I would admit. A joke submission. Jump Woman, a joke submission. Be a Sausage Lover, a joke submission. Under the Stars had 5 points in score deduction. I Am Based AF, I assume was also a little bit of a joke submission. Disqualify this level, joke submission. Like the 169th through 170, or 168th through 174th. It kind of makes sense why they're down there. All right. I can delete this. It's not something I need to read for later. Packfield submitted a question. Why and when did you get hype by the 1.0 version of GD? The 1.0 origin story. All right. So here's how it went down. I went to college for music education. Okay. Oh, I need to hide the form. Okay. I went to college for music education. Okay. The last semester, I have to do student teaching. You know what else came out right when my last semester started? Right before it, 2.2 came out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed as hell. I've got all this stuff I've got to do preparing for student teaching. And the biggest update for the last 7 years has just came out. I'm like tweaking a little bit here, okay? I experiment with the features, and I'm realizing real fast, what the hell does half this stuff do? Because what is the area tint BG fade or whatever? Like, so much stuff to look at, so much stuff to take in. Middle ground kept crashing my editor. I didn't use it. So I made a platformer because I wanted to make a platformer. Cabin Escape. I then spent the next like 2 weeks trying to get it rated. The whole building of Cabin Escape, the pressure of having to build quickly to get an early 2.2 rate, the pressure of having to learn everything in the editor. I built Cabin Escape in a week, and that might be my least favorite thing I've ever made. It was so difficult to create. I had to keep referencing different things. I had to copy triggers over, then change every ID individually. I had to make sure things were working. Force blocks weren't working. I had to figure out how to work music stuff, how to put music on loop. I realized really quickly, I don't have the time to learn. It felt like I had to relearn the editor from scratch. And it's like, this is so stressful. I have ideas, but all those ideas kind of disappeared when 2.2 came out because it's like, I don't know how to make them anymore. This editor is completely foreign. So after Cabin Escape, I stopped building. I did student teaching without building on a single project. Then I graduated. Student teaching was a lot, took a lot out of me. The fact that the only creative thing I did during student teaching was music writing. I graduated. Summer comes around. It looks like I'm set up for like subbing next school year, which I was okay with. I get the itch though to create. Like I can't stop. I have ideas that I want to do, right? But every time I enter the editor, it's demotivating. That's when I decided, why don't I try to do something that I really don't think anyone's done before, which was I want to make a themed level using only 1.0 features. I spent some research learning what all the features were, what it was doing. In fact, my biggest help for that was Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist kind of the person who made it delved down into what 1.0 stuff existed, what was possible. And I decided I'm not going to use free rotate. I think that's cheating. But I'm going to try to make a themed landscape using Golden Haze as the song. And then I also had the idea, well, why don't I parody the Rob Top levels? I'm only going to use what was in Stereo Madness when I'm making Golden Haze. And then I started getting that burnout in June again. And it's like that project got left alone for 2 months. But then in October, I picked it up again. And then I finished it in October because I had a brainwave for a second level. I was theorizing, how could I do a jack-o'-lantern background with the limitations of 1.0? And I had the idea for it. And I'm like, I need to do this. I need to finish Golden Haze. So I finished Golden Haze in October and began working on Goodbye Summer because an epiphany came to me about how to make stuff in 1.0, the Halloween theme. And then when I was making that, I was thinking about the next level. And I'm like, I want to make a level using Polar Plunge. I have a fantastic idea for a level using Polar Plunge. And it keeps going like that. Every time I made a 1.0 level, the idea for the next one would pop in my head, which pushed me to finish the first one. And it finally slowed down around Fluorescent Forests because it's like I did kind of do a lot of stuff on the fly for Fluorescent Forests, but it really slowed down around Envious. But the finish line's so close, I have to build that 7th level. I've got to get this series to a conclusion. That's my 1.0 story. That's how I built 1.0. I came to it because the editor was overwhelming. I finished the first level because I had ideas for a second one. And also, I forgot to mention, Bring the Sun by Endon got rated. About 2 weeks before, or about a week before I released Golden Haze or planned on it, Bring the Sun by Endon got rated, which was like a big deal for 1.0 building. That's the first rated 1.0 level in 2.2. And yeah, and I was like, I looked at Bring the Sun and I'm like, my level's so much better than this. And I'm like, okay, if this can get rated, why don't I build in this? That's my 1.0 story. In a nutshell, that much. Oh my god. Okay. Shadowed has submitted another thing that says, no jokes anymore. What a contest. This is definitely a very well passed contest. Though I wish more levels were rated. I do too. I have a question though. Proceeds to paste in like a million spaces. How did you come up with the idea? Lol. Okay. The idea for the Purist contest came from the reaction of the first contest. Specifically, the reaction from Destriv and Tricipital and people in the Vibrant copy and paste server who are saying, this is a lot of object spam. Lots of objects that I frankly don't think should get put together. I would rather see levels that stuck to the limitations of the actual update instead of whatever is being built here. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't I just host a sarcastic contest about we're going to limit ourselves down to the bare bone features. No copy paste. Must be built in like all the restrictions. And I was going to like personally invite all of them to it, being like, hey, why don't you try it yourself? But then I thought about it more. I'm like, you know, this isn't a bad idea. I'm like, this could be a very good small contest to see if we can push the boundaries of what people had back then. See you, Tunnit. Thanks for joining. So what was originally I think developed in spite turned into a well fleshed out idea that I wanted to host with the community because I thought it was a good idea. Why don't we see what people could do with everything? Like if they were transported back to 2013, what could people do now with the execution and ideas we have now? So that's why the Purist contest came to be. Bet you didn't think it was out of spite. But yeah, that's its original roots. I felt a little spiteful one day, and I'm like, I dreamed this up. But no, when I thought about it more, I'm like, this is actually a good idea. This is a good idea. All right, you on GD has a question. When's the next CC and what is it? If you don't know what the theme is, that's fine. I'll talk about that at the very end of the video here, which we're actually nearing. Monochromacity has submitted one more question. Would you ever potentially do a second 1.0 Purist CC the same as this one now that people are more experienced with building in Purist 1.0? No, I will not. I will not do a second Purist contest. Why? Because I really do not like in-game songs dealio we talked about earlier. I'm not going to force people to do that again. To put time and effort into something just for it to never even have the chance of getting rated. I don't like that. I wish I didn't have that restriction. The other thing is everything was actually well explored. I don't think there's much else you can do Purist wise that wasn't already explored. It wasn't explored already. I think there's definitely probably a couple things like with how I did in Crash Landing, the rotation of the phone. You could probably tilt phones. You could do some other stuff like that. Like the infinity loop idea that Monochromacity did is another really cool idea. But it's nothing that's like you couldn't do on a larger scale in another 1.0 contest. Those ideas, you could do that in a different way. I don't think the Purist 1.0 style has much else to offer contest-wise. Oh, that reminds me of something I wanted to talk about before we went to the questions. I'll actually talk about that right now. Let's quickly talk about what makes a successful Purist level for the contest. So I'm going to turn this off. Let's talk about that. Why did the Lost Map win? Well, and why did some of these other levels not do as well? Something you might have noticed is levels had to think outside the box to do really well in this contest. In particular, they also had to do a couple of things. There's trends for a couple of things that follow a lot of these. For instance, Piston Purity, Pulse Rod Thing, Tracks to Nowhere, and some other ones, Deep Docks. The use of a black background. That was one of the key holy grails for this contest. Because what does a black background enable you to do? Make line art without having to worry about pulsing the BG or having ugly sides appear out. You can make some very cool block designs and cool arts in a black background. A lot of winners had this. Polar Festival had one. Tracks to Nowhere had one. Piston Purity had one. Pulse Rod Thing had one. G- Bonus Round had it for like text. Roselia had one. Pure Ruins, I don't think did. Old Path did. Deep Docks did. Dystopia, I think did. Jump Out did. But Mage Arena did, and that was one of its big focuses. Mage Arena is a great example of doing it well. Some of the bottom entries didn't necessarily have that, like Aldi 1 Dot Knots, Nixes, and Nuns. On the Right Track is a great example. Filled in a lot of stuff, but because it didn't use a black background, it took it out. Yeah, and that Z Trio. That's another. Yours was another example. You couldn't really do a black background section, which it probably made having to stretch those objects out a lot more difficult, didn't it? See ya, Packfield. So I would say those who did a black background tended to do a little bit better than others who did not because they were able to spread their objects out farther. The Lost Map, interesting enough, did not do that. The Lost Map did not have a predominantly dark section, other than at the very end, which was treated more as like a cave light effect instead of a making complex art effect. What the Lost Map did that almost no entries did was the use of negative space. What negative space is it's using background as like detail. If you notice the homes inside the Lost Map, the walls of the houses were the background and the windows were a grid block. You get the effect of a house, but done in much less objects than someone who is building it out of 1.0 blocks. That is predominant throughout the entirety of the level, is the use of negative space to achieve a visual idea. Pure Ruins also did a different approach. Pure Ruins, darker backgrounds, lots of pulsing, simpler blocks. And what Pure Ruins actually ran into is because they were doing that, there was a lot of skips, and some of the skips kind of took away from its score. But filling in with pulses is another great, like having simpler blocks but more pulsing was another thing that scored really well in the contest. Pulse Rod Thing's another great example. Varied, simple blocks, but had pulsing that kept the energy up, which also kept the visual appeal up. So having a black background, use of negative space, use of consistent pulsing to keep energy are probably the three big things that made the most successful Purist levels. The other thing is creative ideas. Monsoon, for instance, and Deep Docks, very creative ideas. Takeoff is a very interesting one because its creative idea was it's a fully ship level, and they experimented around with ship obstacles and free fly. They were one of, I think, 2 entries that had a free fly section. So, yeah, Back to Base had really creative ideas, and Back to Base, it was actually interesting, had really good gameplay, like really, really fun gameplay. Yeah. The other thing, the last thing Purist levels did Instead of building structures that are completely filled in, have a lot of floating structures that help fill up the empty space. Polar Festival is a great example. A lot of mini bald floating structures throughout it that helped fill in the space, but didn't take away from the gameplay. Back to Base did the same thing. And yeah, that's really what made Purist levels the most successful, is black backgrounds, negative space usage, pulsing to keep up the energy, very creative ideas, and floating structures instead of fully filled in solid structures. For instance, if we look at On the Right Track, I want to talk about that one. On its own right, On the Right Track is a cool level, right? It's an awesome level, but it did not score well in this contest. On the Right Track did not have a black background, did not use negative space. It filled everything in, like how the original level did. It didn't use any like interesting ideas. It kind of reused ideas from the first one. No floating structures. Instead, everything was a very solid structure connected to the ground, and there was pulse, and there wasn't any like pulsing keep the energy up. And it scored 150. It's 150th. It's a great level. It just didn't do well in this contest because it didn't have any of those things. And that's the general trend I've noticed. Things that have one of those, or a combination of those 5 things, are going to do very well. Did very well in this contest. So, yeah. That and the gameplay was a little rough. Good gameplay was also a key component to getting a good score here. So, that is takeaway. So if you ever want to make a Purist level, consider having a black section inside it. Consider having not solid structures, but more free-formed islandy structures in the sky. Think about using negative space or inverted space, like what Falling Pie did at the end, where it's blinking where you need to go. Having pulses, all that good stuff. Okay. Any other questions from y'all? Put them in the YouTube chat. Any questions about Purist CC at all? If you don't have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Did you like the contest or did you hate the contest? So tell me questions or give me a like or hate in the chat right now. And okay, loved the contest. Like. Same. Excellent. I hated the contest, JK. Did you have fun in my fun land? It says Assessmo on 100. Yes, I did have fun in your fun land. I will say the gameplay took a little bit of time to learn. There's a lot of interesting like visual stuff with portals that really distracted the gameplay from me. But I did enjoy it. I believe you were the first person to get 2 categories in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you were the first person to get 2 Hall of Fames. So congratulations on that. You got a Creativity and Sync Hall of Fame. I didn't like the deco personally. I didn't like the portal usage, but your gameplay was very fun once you learned it. So I did have fun in your fun land. Loved it. Great levels. I agree. There were some really good levels. I liked it, but honestly wouldn't want to do it again. Agreed, EPMC. I liked this contest. I do not want to do it again. I don't ever want to do another Purist contest. And it's because by the end of it, I felt like there was a lot of repetition. Especially when hosting the Purist Giga collab. Very, like, ideas have already been drained. There's not too much more you can do in the Purist limitations that you couldn't do in regular limitations. If there's another contest, what do I need to do to get better at to score higher next time? All right, Mr. Penguin Yeet, let's talk about Shadow Snow real fast. Shadow Snow scored 43rd. You need to fix your gameplay. Shadowed, and by that I mean you need to test play it more. Shadowed Snow had a lot of really hard jumps that I think were harder than what you intended them to be. And that's because if you jumped at the wrong time, you would die to a decoration item. You want to really make sure that you're keeping the gameplay clear of unnecessary, I guess, visuals. The other thing is make sure you had a lot of copy and paste inside Shadow Snow, which is the reason I did not give it a 5 in Deco. There was a lot of copy and paste. So I would recommend for the next level, changing up the design. So like the clouds are all copy and pasted. You should change the cloud design to be flip them. Add some tails to the clouds to kind of keep it fresh. Buildings, same way. You want to add something that changes each design up just a little bit. So that would be my recommendation. That goes for like a lot of people. You want to stay clear of copy and paste, but if you do use it, find some way to change it up by like flipping or adding additions. So, and yeah, make sure the gameplay in 1.0 levels is clear of obstacles. It's been a big problem in GJJ 7 for me, is making sure transitions when you're flying into the sky, depending on how you enter from below, that it doesn't kill you. Because I need to keep in mind, any timing needs to be kept in mind. There's going to be people that click at the last second. There's going to be people that click at the earliest possible frame. You got to make sure that that window works for any type of person unless it's intended in the gameplay to kill them. But like when I'm flying them into the air for a transition, that should not kill them, you know? I think, for on all honesty, GJJ 7, when I was doing that, there's a flying to the air transition. That transition took me probably close to 2 or 3 hours to fix. So, all right, glad to hear your level served the purpose. Maybe we should have a test player forum for people to find test players next contest. First of all, I think it's playtester instead of test player. I've made that mistake before. But finding playtesters could be interesting. I imagine there's going to be some people that don't want to do that. Because they got to make sure they test play it before the submission ends. That can get a bit rough. But yeah. That might be an interesting idea. I'll keep that in mind. Thoughts on joke levels? I love a good joke level. Feel free to enter joke levels. Although, when there's other judges, I don't know if they would, because they're putting in their own time for my contest. I don't know if they're gonna like joke levels as much, you know. That might be something that if I know a level's a joke level, I might be like, I'm going to grade this. I'm not going to give this to the judge because I don't want the judge to have to grade something that's not submitted purposefully, you know? Yeah, joke levels are good in moderation, I should say. I had somebody that submitted 12 levels that were just off the rated tab on my contest. I hate that. Don't do that. Submit your own levels. Don't submit other people's stuff. That just makes my job harder. Submit your own projects and only your own projects. If you like, it's frustrating. Someone submitted Heliopolis, yes. Someone submitted the daily for 3 days. People submitted stuff that didn't exist. They just like typed a random ID and typed in meow 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 rop or something like that. That's not a submission. That's you trying to throw a joke on me. They submitted random IDs and just said hard level for the title. Couldn't find it. Yeah, and someone submitted TCD top 1. Unless you're from TCD, you should not be submitting their level. Only submit your own levels. Makes my job easier. And I'm doing this out of my own free will and time, you know? All right. If there's no more questions, let's talk about future plans real fast. My next goal, my personal next goal, so this is not counting 1.0 Demon List. My personal goal is to get GJJ7 out next. I'm not going to host another contest. I'm not going to... Well, I am going to do the winners collab, but as well as probably work on a secret collab that I cannot share. But my first and foremost goal is to finish GJJ7. After that, I do have a contest in mind. Okay. I do have a contest idea. It's going to require judges. And I feel like that might be where it gets tricky, because I'm not going to be able to find enough mod judges that I think would be interested in grading. I am going to need at least 3 additional judges besides myself to pull this off. I think Gigs would love to do it again, but I also am worrying that, because I'm going to be splitting the judges up. They're not going to grade every level. They're going to grade us a certain amount of levels, right? If I make Gigs a judge, that means every judge needs to be a mod judge, so that it's not unfair. Is then people are going to just enter one category. I think what I might do is I'm probably not going to reveal the judges. That way I can have non-mod and mod judges participate if they want to. I'm not going to reveal the judges until the end. But yeah. Here's what you get to know about the third contest. There's going to be at least 4 judges in total. Each of the judges that aren't me are going to only grade a certain amount of the levels. They're not going to grade all of them. I'm going to grade all of them. And it's going to be 2 judge scores, or 2 or more judge scores that give the placements. That's all I'm going to reveal, because I would like to get GJJ7 out first before I get that contest down. Yeah, it's going to be similar to the Newgrounds Audio Underground. It's going to be similar to the Newgrounds Underdog Audio Contest. It's also, I think it's more similar to what Viperant did in his CC8. Viperant CC8, that was the first contest at 2.1. He had 5 judges, and each of the judges just graded certain levels from the famous and the unknown. So it's going to be multiple judges, but they're not judging everything. Except I will be judging everything. I'm the contest host. I'm going to play through everything. Try to find the time to judge it all, you know. There's additional details. I can't share them yet. I will share them once GJJ7 is out. Once it's been released to the servers, okay? Because that's my priority. All about one step at a time. Priorities, you know. Okay. Any other questions you would like to ask before we wrap up this stream? Any concerns? Any feedback? Anything else? How do you feel about 1.0 hate? That's a great question. Some of it bothers me. Some of it definitely bothers me, because people blindly hate on it just because it's 1.0. It's like they don't even play the level. Either construct hate, for instance. The people that say this is a layout are stupid, frankly. A lot of the haters are young players that don't understand why it's getting support, because they take a look at the stuff they're seeing on YouTube, like Skeletal Extremigans, and they're like, why doesn't every level look like this? It's a bad level if it doesn't stimulate my brain. And it's no surprise to me that almost everyone that hates the 1.0 and Neo 1.0 styles are people that have like less than 500 stars. They're kids. Most of them are kids. The few that are not kids are the ones I have more of a problem with. Because they fully understand why the levels get support. They're just choosing to hate it because they're jealous. It's fine to say, I don't personally like the style. I wish it did this instead. That's wonderful. Or saying, I personally don't like 1.0, like Fake Hate Tag does. That's fine to me. But it's the people that are saying, this is a garbage level, go die in a hole. Or saying stuff like, Rob Top needs to stop rating stuff. This mod's getting demoted. That kind of stuff is no place in this community. That kind of stuff is nothing but hate, nothing but jealousy. And that's the kind of stuff that bothers me. So that's how I feel about the 1.0 hate. It's kind of got two camps. You got the people that just dislike the style and are stating it. You got the kids. And then you got the actual people that are either trolling or just being very toxic. Talk about conclusion. What's to talk about? You didn't like the 7th GJJ level when I revealed it? The conclusion was an April Fool's prank. I might upload it as a unlisted level at some point. Probably after I release GJJ7 as the unofficial bonus level. But only people who have the ID will be able to play it. It's not anything serious. I built conclusion in 5 minutes when my girlfriend went to get 7 brew. That's literally what it is. Most of the haters are 9-year-olds who want reason tab levels to get rated. Yeah. Yeah, people who have no idea what 1.0 means. That's another problem I have. The people who call it a layout and the people who make a 1.0 level that has features not from 1.0, that bothers me because it's kind of like name shaming in a way. 1.0 style is different than 1.0 level. A 1.0 level uses the features from the 1.0 update. 1.0 style makes a level that looks like it uses, that looks like 1.0-ish. It uses like the grid blocks. It uses any gameplay it wants. I really think the distinction needs to be made better, you know. Non 1.0 mods irk you. They don't irk me that much because they fully make it clear. I don't like this style. I'm not going to send something I don't feel comfortable with liking. That makes sense to me. I think a lot of them are respectful about it or try to be. That being said, Destriv in the past has not been very respectful about it. He's a lot better now, but I think the initial shock of the flood of them probably confused him. So, those who think old style is lazy, they're just projecting themselves. Yeah, there's a lot of people that think the old style is lazy and a, like, what's the term people called it? Like retro slop. They think it's made quickly for rate, when in reality I'm spending months building fluorescent forests, for instance. Like Envious took me 5 months to make. Fluorescent Forest took me 7 to 8. GJJ7 is taking me close to 6 months at this point. A lot of time goes into these levels. And I hate the term slop in general. I don't think we should be using slop like Crater Point or Crater Point slop, grinding slop. That I think every level has a purpose in its creation, and people need to look at that. They also need to look at, hey, this is being made for free. Okay, we're all making these for free. So What about if a 1.0 hate message gets top comment in 1.0 level? That upsets me, unless the level's not actually 1.0, and then it's like, yeah, go ahead. There was a contest entry to my first contest that didn't actually get entered. It was released 4 days after the contest ended, called 1.00. Didn't use 1.0 features. It had tiny spikes and ink pads. That level got rated from one mod sent at the right time. I didn't even announce about it because it wasn't a 1.0 level. It got a lot of hate because it looked pretty poor as well for a 1.0 style level. And it's just like, I'm fine with that, but it's not a 1.0 level anyway. Maybe that's mean about me, but that's whatever. People claiming 1.6 levels 1.0. That doesn't happen as much as people claiming 1.3 is 1.0 or 1.4 is 1.0. See, if it's the reverse, if people play 1.0 level and they say it's 1.6, I consider that a win, but I correct them. But it's really telling when a mod plays a 1.3 level and it's like, this is 1.0 slop. Like, I think the mods should be pretty educated in what is in which update. It bothers me when they see like a pink pad and they're like, oh, this must be a 1.0 level when it's got UFOs and thorns and all that. What do I think about Chaotic by Subwoofer and people saying it's favoritism? There is favoritism involved, but people saying it's RobTop favoritism are wrong. It's not RobTop. That level was released as part of a giant GD anniversary collection, which moderators were taking a look at. It was by a moderator. The collection had levels by moderators in it, so moderators were looking at the collection. That was one of the levels. They played it. They had fun with it, so they sent it. Was some of that send bias? Yeah. I don't normally see Mr. Spaghetti sending 1.0 levels when he plays them, though he has sent a couple, so maybe not. Is it biased that RobTop rated it? No. How RobTop rates is he checks random IDs on the sent tab and awards them what the mods said they are. Sometimes he'll give them a higher or lower quality depending on how he likes them. Other times he'll up or degrade the star rate. But if he sees an ID and there's nothing that's preventing players from playing it, he's going to rate it. That's just how it works. He doesn't question levels. He just rates levels that he finds on the tab. And what people fail to point out is that level didn't get rated immediately. That level took 3 weeks to get rated. It was sent 8 times. It got rated off of the 8th send being perfectly where it needed to be on the sent tab. So I think there's a whole lot less favoritism involved in that rate than people are giving credit for. It's just that it was sent at the right time. And that's how every level gets rated. It gets sent at the right time. I would say probably 95% of the levels that are rated get sent at the right time. Hate everybody's War of the Slop. I hate it too. Yeah, the mods be sending anything comment is so stupid because those are people that don't understand. I typically ignore them. I just leave a dislike and move on. They usually get disliked because they're not adding anything. People who say mods should be demodded. Someone's getting demodded is such a stupid thing to say. Like, that doesn't make any point. You're just being dumb. People who say, why is this rated when it's on the sent tab, are people who are being dumb. They don't understand. That's not a rated level. That's a sent level. Yeah. Why is this in sent tab? Who sent this when the mod who commented is 2 comments below you is something that really bothers me, because GD players use your eyes challenge apparently is too hard for some people to execute. The comments that are asking who sent this when there's no mod comment are fine, because I'm curious of who sent this, But if the mod has commented, it's pretty obvious it's been sent. Yeah. I don't think the stream's freezing for others. Maybe it's an internet thing. No, Destruv likes being a mod. Destruv does a lot of good like mod requesting. He's very active about it. He sends a lot of projects. He's not a huge fan of Neo 1.0, and that's okay. He still sends some Neo 1.0 levels that do something different. He has still sent some other 1.0 levels. Destruv does a good job. Okay. I personally don't like how he responded initially to the 1.0 resurgence, but he's definitely done a better job at being tame about it. He still likes to comment about it being object spam. I disagree, but that is more to agree to disagree type thing. I think Destruv loves being a mod, and I think he does a great job as a mod. They're still reading Dr. Seuss. They can't decipher mod comments. Maybe. Do I like Ice Cream Bicyclic? I think it's a funny level. I'm glad it got re-rated after its unfortunate derate. See, that's what really bothered me. Throughout the history of the game, RobTop has had to decide what to do with people, and he initially has been a little harsh on some things. When Cyclic was found out to be a hacker, RobTop deleted all his levels. Or he unrated all the levels and Cyclic deleted them. Like, RobTop made the conscious action, oh, Cyclic's a hacker, I'm going to unrate his levels. Like, he had an invisible club step. There were 2 rated invisible club steps on the server. That, like, made out of the 1.6 invisible blocks. One of them just disappeared. Like, it was Cyclic's because RobTop unrated it or deleted it. It's like, that's frustrating to me. I remember playing Ice Cream in 1.8, as well as like Very Easy by Mr. Cheese Tiger and Sochi Ski Jump. But those levels got removed because they had secret ways or were hacked. And that's unfair to me. Like, those levels were legitimately beaten. They shouldn't be erased from the servers, you know? And Sochi Ski Jump, all we have is a Wii Wii Tio video on it. I do think Restoration Union has recreated it, though. Making a Demonless level right now. Dish was interesting. He likes levels that have arts and good designs. He might like the 7th Day. I don't know if he'd like the 7th Day. 7th Day has pixel art, which is, to him, object spam. So I'm not entirely sure, but you could certainly try. Okay. If there's no other questions, I'm going to probably end it here. Feel free to listen back through the stream recording when it pops up on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff we talked about, a lot of things I'll be keeping in mind, and all of that. The 7th Day has coin paths. Yeah, it's also elite ball knowledge. The 7th Day is. You gotta have severe ball knowledge to understand that. Okay. I'm going to end this stream here. I hope this was a helpful and enjoyable stream for everybody. I did have one question for y'all before you leave. I was thinking about, because with GTA 7 being nearly done, I thought it might be cool to have a server channel and event dedicated to y'all trying to decipher what the level is about, what song it uses, as well as maybe having a mini contest for a playtester to whoever can get closest to guessing the level. Is that something you think would be an interesting server addition for a little bit? No one has figured out the song. The song has not been figured out. So what it would basically be is I would release the information we already know. And then what it would be is people submit their guesses, and I close the form down. I choose who's going to be the test player. I message them separately. And then I reveal the final clue, which is the song artist. Okay. So it would be, you have to guess based on the information I show. But once everyone's guessed, once I found the person who's playtesting, I'd reveal the final thing while playtesting is going on. Shadowed, it is a demon. It is a demon. It's an easy demon. So you support it but won't participate. Cool addition. Yeah, that's it. One, it's a demon. I've actually revealed a little bit of information about the level a couple times. So is it going to be a list demon? No, it's going to be a tier 1 easy is my goal. Like this, it's barely demon. But it is a demon. Okay. I will try to get that rolling in the next couple days here or so. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your day or night. I'll see y'all in another stream. Thanks for stopping by and submitting your thoughts and feedback. I greatly appreciate it. It helps make the next contest even better.